Welcome back. It may come as no surprise, but this is the most popular time of the year for charitable donations. As you heard in Dwayne's report, 31% of all annual giving takes place during December alone. 71% of all donations are made by individuals. We're no strangers to charity here on the Suncoast. This year's 24-hour giving challenge raised nearly $13.4 million for local organizations. But there is more we can do to meet the needs of the community. As we just saw, All Faith's Food Bank still has some empty shelves. While they couldn't be here tonight, they did send us this message. All Faith's Food Bank is the only food bank in Sarasota County. More than 63,000 people rely on All Faith's Food Bank and its network of agencies, shelters, and food pantries. They also sent us this picture of Gabe, one of the children they help in our area. And joining us for more on the Suncoast charity is Maria Evie, Sarasota area president of the United Way, and Veronica Brady, senior vice president of philanthropy for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Thank you both for being here today. You look at Dwayne's report and some of these numbers, and you put your finger on it before the show. It is the...
We are a tale of two cities. We've got the working and retired affluent community, and then we have everyone who is working, but working at a minimum wage or a low wage and just is struggling to make it every day.
You know, I used that expression once before, and I got some angry email saying, you know, how dare I categorize the Suncoast, Sarasota in that fashion. So make your case.
Well, so think about it. You know, each of us who is working, retired with capacity, we have people who take care of us. They're doing our yards. They're helping serve our dinners at restaurants. And they're making a basic wage. Well, that basic wage in this community for a family of four, we were talking about it earlier, for a family of four to be able to live in a reasonable apartment and meet their basic needs, takes about 2.5 minimum wage jobs in that family of four.
Not only that, but a lot of people have been able to go back to work after the Great Recession. We keep hearing the economy has improved, but many people are not making what they made before the near depression.
No.
Yes, and if you think about it, a family of four needs to make $53,000 a year just for basic needs. That means their car's not breaking down, they have a medical emergency, just to pay basic. And we're looking at maybe only around $1,000 a month in rent. And we know here in Sarasota County, it's very difficult to find rent at $1,000 a month.
So from your perspective, where are your agencies in terms of the donations and contributions this year?
Well, I think, you know, the economy has been positive, and this is an incredibly generous community. So I think organizations are doing well, but the need continues. And so, you know, people have choices. We encourage them, especially at this time of year, to be thinking about, you know, what makes their heart sing, what's important to them and their families in terms of value, but then to definitely remember those who are less fortunate.
And at the United Way?
Same thing. And you know, we help a lot of the agencies that we're talking about that help the individuals in our community that need help. We talk to 211 that gets a lot of calls, and they get funding to be able to help families if they're struggling. Maybe they can't pay their rent or their electric. There are so many families calling in, especially this time of year, because they are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And we may get into this more in our next segment, but then you look at what's happening at All Faith's Food Bank and even the Salvation Army. It took them longer than usual to meet its goal in terms of the number of gifts for kids who need them. Right. What do you think is going on there?
You know, we were talking about it a little bit. I think there's a couple things. You know, people tend to forget that there is need out there. There are more kids. I spoke to the Salvation Army after your report aired a week or so ago, and we had donors call us to make wonderful gifts in response to that, so thank you.
So it may not be that gifts are down, but there are more kids who need gifts.
There were more kids who needed gifts. There were additional families who came to the Salvation Army and said, please help us.
And at the United Way, are there more families out there that are needing the kind of help that United Way provides?
Absolutely. There are a lot more families, and there's so many different ways to give now. And you have a lot of our churches that are giving, and a lot of the gifts are going out of the country. So there's just, I think we're spreading it a lot further, but there's just so many different avenues to be able to give.
All right, we're just getting started here. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have a check on your weather forecast. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing charitable donations and why some organizations on the Suncoast are still struggling to meet the needs of the community. Our guests tonight are Maria Avey, Sarasota Area President of the United Way, and Veronica Brady, Senior Vice President of Philanthropy for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. So here's question number one. Are there more charities, more organizations seeking help from your organizations?
I'm going to say yes. Lots of organizations contact us, work with us, reach out to us to connect them to donors who will have an interest. You know, this is a philanthropic community, and there is quite a bit of need.
If you were to look back past the last 4 to 8 years, has that number of organizations going to your organization increased a lot?
Well, I mean, you know, certainly during the Great Recession, there was a tremendous amount of need. And now I think organizations have become much more focused on their sustainability. How do they keep meeting the need for children, families, seniors in our community? How do we keep accomplishing what needs to be accomplished and make it sustainable?
And same question, are there more and more organizations going to the United Way seeking help?
I think there's probably the same amount of organizations seeking help from United Way. I think it shifts as when we were talking about the recession time to now. During the recession time, it was more of workforce readiness, helping people get back to work, because those were the big issues at that time. And it shifts. It depends where we're at, what's going on in the economy really drives what the needs are for the different agencies of the issues that they're trying to help families with.
Now here's the huge difficult question, because after the election, this was an issue during the election. A lot of people believe the safety net should not be government. It should be charitable organizations. I remember hearing Ron Paul say that, that people who need help should get it from charity, from their churches, and so forth. Are you, number one, concerned about the government safety net, whether it's Social Security or welfare?
Food stamps, SNAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you concerned if those programs are going to be cut, that more people are going to go to organizations that you help, and there's going to be growing pressure there?
Well, of course we have to be sensitive to that. But in the end, the government is they're the 800-pound gorilla. You know, with one tax adjustment one way or the other, they're going to impact people, millions of people, but in our community, thousands of people in ways that philanthropy can't immediately respond to. It just can't.
Right, but even in the last Congress, there were proposed cuts to food stamps, and I would imagine that would have a significant impact here in Sarasota County.
It would have a tremendous impact here in Sarasota. You know, in Sarasota County, we have 50% of our children in Sarasota County schools who qualify for free and reduced lunch. That's about 21,000 kids, and that doesn't count their younger siblings, older siblings, their parents. In All Faiths Food Bank also covers DeSoto County. 90% of the students in public schools qualify for free and reduced lunch there. So yes, it has a huge impact.
So Maria, if the new Congress does cut some of these programs, are you concerned about the impact it would have on organizations like the United Way, who might find that there are more people who are giving you a phone call or knocking on your door?
Well, it's going to hit us in different ways, because it's not going to only hit us in families coming to get help from us. It's also going to hit the employers, because as soon as some of what you're calling safety net, we call the benefits cliff, when families get their benefits cut and they can't afford childcare, or they cannot afford their car, they cannot afford to go to work. So what ends up happening, then you have an impact to the employer that people quit work. So the impact's going to be a lot greater, because if they're not working, now they're not making any money, and we go back to employment issues at the same time. So it's a big impact. Yes, they'll come to United Way for more help, But government does have a big role in this, and we are afraid of the cuts. We're afraid of what's going to happen to health care.
Well, explain that a little bit, because we don't know exactly how this is going to play itself out, whether Obamacare will be repealed or parts of it will be kept. But if it is, and more people are who, there are 20 million Americans who are now covered by health insurance that weren't, what impact would that have here locally?
It's going to be a huge impact. It's going to be a cost to us as a community with health care, because if people cannot afford health care, we go back to the overcrowding and emergency rooms, because they have to get care somewhere. So it's going to be a big impact. But what happens is, when you're working, you have to be at a certain wage to be able to qualify now for Obamacare. But if they don't have health care provided for them, we're talking huge impact, because we don't even know, because we don't have Medicaid expansion here. There's a lot of things the state has to look at. I don't even know what the impacts of the repeal will be, but it's gonna affect our families.
So Veronica, when you talk to folks here in Sarasota County who support these cuts, but do give generously to your organization, what do you tell them?
I think what we focus on really, again, is going back to building sustainability. We're working on an initiative together that teaches families who have been in homelessness, who have been taken care of through the system that's been established between a partnership of organizations, and helps make them more sustainable, more prepared to withstand, changes that may happen in their lives. There's, again, no doubt that if there are substantial changes in government funding, families will be hurt even worse.
And we already have a significant problem with homelessness in our area. That would be an understatement. Anybody who's driving down in downtown Sarasota right now, and the county and the city have not really been able to work together to get a handle on it right now. And what kind of strains do you see to charitable organizations around here if we don't get a handle on it?
I do see, and I would say Gulf Coast sees, wonderful progress between the county and the city and nonprofit organizations partnering together. The Salvation Army is part of that. So we see progress. Probably not as much progress as we as citizens in Sarasota would really like to see. It will only continue to get worse if we see more economic challenges in our community, because people will stay somewhere, and we need to find them stable housing, stable jobs, the ability to support themselves, and again, move off the street.
And I see you're nodding your head. We have less than a minute left, but I'll give you the last word.
No, I totally agree. I think that we're coming up with certain programs that we're working together on to help everybody, the families help try to work through this, that they learn how to change their lives, their habits, how they manage money. And we're helping give the tools so they can do this.
Okay. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about a bill to allow the open carry of handguns. Stay with us. Welcome back. The holidays are here, and you may be in the giving mood. What is the best way to do your part? Our guests join us now for final thoughts. Veronica, what would you like to see people do?
It's not too late to make a gift before your end. Of course, there's wonderful tax reasons to do it, but it's also because it's a great thing to do for our community. So take a look on the Giving Partner, which is a website that has information about charities. Contact Gulf Coast Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Sarasota County, the United Way. But find out if you aren't sure where to make a gift. Contact somebody and say, where's the need, and we will be happy to answer that call. And we are all so aware of the great work of United Way. What is the quickest way for people who want to help to do so and it be effective? Volunteering is one way, but also giving a small donation, just giving any little bit, we can take that money and be able to double or triple it, because we're all working together to be able to help others. And
we need to help the families in our community. They're working hard, they're trying, they're not just sitting home, you know, taking the money that we give to them. They really need this help.
I don't think that we could have spent our hour any better way talking about this just a couple of days before Hanukkah and Christmas and the New Year. So thank you both for joining us tonight. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about a new open carry bill filed for the upcoming legislative session. State Senator Greg Stubbe is sponsoring the bill. It would allow for the open carry of handguns. Florida is one of 5 states that prohibit the practice, but it goes further, allowing for open carry at schools, college campuses, government meetings, and airport terminals. We asked you what you think, and Mike Reed writes, factually, statistically, legal open carry and legal campus carry have not resulted in Wild West situations in states where it's practiced. Just the undeniable fact. Kathleen Tracy, very interesting discussion last night. I would still prefer no guns in schools, airports, government buildings, churches, stores, etc. Even with the training, I don't think most folks have the wherewithal to react appropriately with a gun in a crisis situation. And Patrice Karabatsos writes, I just wonder what people will do when the carrier is not white, not old, and looks like he came from the other side of town. Will you still respect the right to carry, or will you shoot and ask questions later? Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thank you to our guests for being here tonight. Maria Avey is the Sarasota Area President for the United Way, and Veronica Brady is Senior Vice President of Philanthropy for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation.